Hello and welcome to TNWKS, the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Buzz.
And I'm Jack.
And this week's episode is all about robotics.
Beep bop boop bop.
I am a robot.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
So we did previously a podcast about AI, artificial intelligence.
And that was very, very popular.
Very interesting.
A lot of the listeners out there seem to really enjoy that one, and we will be coming back with further ones, and we'll discuss that a bit later on because we can't do, as you said, Jack, we can't do a topical subject of robotics without touching upon artificial intelligence.
They come very much hand in hand.
Yeah, so
Especially nowadays.
well, definitely nowadays, but let's face it, robots as they are have been around for decades. Just like in things like car manufacture and stuff like that, robots, has been used.
It's a loose definition, isn't it, robot?
But now we are now on the verge of, and probably to clarify more this exact subject that we're talking about, we're probably talking about more humanoid robots.
Yeah, as opposed to like Robbie the robot from
the Forbidden Planet.
Correct.
Androids.
That's it.
Is that a different term? I don't
Well,
know.
androids...
Okay. Let's start off with
dissect
that.
what is a robot?
What is a robot? So a robot is technically, like you just said, Robbie the robot.
Yeah.
A robot is a machine which is programmed to undertake a task. And as you like to say, the name robot is
a Slavic term for the word slave.
So it does the job you program it to do.
Yeah, that's it.
It isn't autonomous. Autonomous?
Yeah.
Give it to you.
So any sort of machine.
Well, it might be autonomous. It will do its thing if you program it to do it, but it won't be sentient.
Yeah,
it won't.
No, that's what I mean. Autonomous means that it can make decisions of its own accord.
Okay.
Robots shouldn't.
Yeah.
They
So
are
it won't-
just programmed to do a repetitive job, wherever that happens.
Lift the box,
For
put it on
example,
a shelf.
I mean, let's look at examples of robots that we already have around us. And a lot of the time, you don't even start. We're already living in an age where we don't think about that. But in certain cities, we have robotic food deliveries.
Yeah.
Those little trundle carts that go
They've
around.
I've seen
been
those in
popping
Milton
up
Keynes.
more and more around, haven't they? I
I
think
saw
they
one
do
in-
that in Milton Keynes.
Saw one of
actually.
the delivery ones in Milton Keynes once,
That's it,
trundling along.
So there is a perfect example of a 21st century robot.
Yeah.
It's programmed to do a task. Off it goes. And it's
Yeah, you
doing
just
that.
set in the coordinates,
That's
tell
it.
it where to go, and it'll go there.
You go there, do the delivery
You'd
job,
hope.
and then take yourself back again. Other types of robots, well, I suppose if you're going high end, then you're talking about drones. And when I'm talking about drones, I'm talking about kind of like your aeroplane-shaped military drones, which are used as spy drones, or can they even be used as...
Because they can be programmed now, can't they?
Well, yeah, those drones... I think you can actually get some which are pretty much autonomous. They can make decisions for themselves when they are
That's scary.
viewing enemy lines and everything.
I've seen some pretty scary videos about drones with machine guns and explosives on board and stuff.
Well, are you talking about the
flying ones? The flying ones.
Yeah, well, drones fly. I'm talking. I was mentioning the military plane-shaped drones, but you're talking about the.
I'm talking about the
drones
more
with
kind of
The hovering
drones. Yeah, and some of them they have been adapting them with machine guns on, and then a payload of explosives, so they can suicide themselves.
infrared cameras and stuff.
Well, could a robot commit suicide? I don't think so.
Well,
It's quite a philosophical.
I don't think it can.
For the beginning of the
Because
podcast,
go back to it. A robot is a machine you program to do a task, and it shouldn't differ from that task. I mean, it certainly will break down and they can go wrong, but it wouldn't technically differ out of choice from that task because the task it is programmed to do is all it's programmed to do.
So would this also be probably a side tangent, but self-driving cars?
They're autonomous cars.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where you are suddenly getting the position where you have a car and it is making decisions all the time because it's using its LiDAR radar, it's using its cameras.
I never really considered them as
It's
being a
using
robot,
GPS.
but
Yeah.
actually
But
they are.
They are actually more of an autonomous
Yeah.
machine. above that of just a basic robot.
Even like things nowadays with like in factories, you've got like those arms that sort of put lids
Yeah.
on things.
When you
and-
think of robots, you think the humanoid kind of shape.
Well, yeah, that's because
That's very much
that's what
movie
it's a
centric.
sci-fi trope.
So let,
But yeah, they can be any size basically.
a robot can do anything. It's a machine.
Nanobot.
It's a nanobots.
Do they have those?
Well, they have xenobots. They have xenobots because xenobots are in an experimental stage, and xenobots are actually a biologically designed.
Like No Time to Die.
What?
Well, No Time to Die was exactly what you just said, a nanobot. So
Yeah.
That's a James Bond
That's-
movie, by the way.
physical technology, but they're designing xenobots. Good old word, xeno, like xenomorph,
Another movie reference.
because they are biological, little programmed robots, if you like, to be injected into people to do a specific task, for example, to attack a cancer or something like that. Yeah, and
Or
xenobots are
spread a
something.
coronavirus.
Yeah, well,
No, we're not doing conspiracy
not
theories
just
this week.
conspiracy theories. But we probably will touch upon that within this discussion anyway. It's inevitable. So just to clear up what you said about the difference, a robot is that. So if you think Robbie the robot, you think of Marvin the paranoid android. I don't know really why they call him paranoid android. It's because it rhymes, but he's a robot.
C-3PO.
C-3PO, robots. Okay, they have a personality, you could say.
Robocop.
But,
What's the one from Buck Rogers?
Oh, that's
Twinkie.
Bitty. That's
Yeah.
Twinkie.
Twinkie.
Twinkie. Yeah,
There
but
we are.
remember these
Didn't he
racks?
put like one of the AI things around his neck? He had like the big
Yes, he
disc.
had a big.
He was like a
light
doctor
up
or something.
disc.
Oh, there's one we're missing. Crichton, Red Dwarf.
Croton, yeah. So, but all these things are obviously actors within
Wait, what?
suits,
Oh,
You tell me it's not
man.
real.
and so they portray emotions and things that you wouldn't expect from a robot.
Yeah.
But a robot is basically a machine that doesn't have to look humanoid, and if it does have a kind of humanoid form, like ones we've just discussed, it doesn't resemble a human 100%.
Yeah.
And it's 100% mechanical, if you like. Unless they can get to the point where they're actually combining things. But that's when you get onto a cyborg. So if you have a cyborg...
Okay, that's if it's part biological as a
Yeah,
cyborg. An
cyborg.
android
an android
is a facsimile human.
Exactly. So that would be your next step. And that's kind of where Tesla bot's going. And other robots like Ameca, which is the most advanced AI robot.
No, we saw some videos on that before this podcast, and that was
So,
scary.
Again, but an android is, again, completely mechanical, if you like, but is designed to replicate a human being down to the finest detail.
Like
So-
Data.
Like Data of Star Trek, although, of course, he had that sallow skin and things
Yeah.
to make him look not quite human. But
Or like Blade
his,
Runner.
his creator...
Yes.
Well, yeah, they were replicants because they were biological.
Mm.
They were made actually out of, they were just like in labs today. They can grow human ears out of cartilage and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
the
crazy.
idea of you take a leap forwards and you actually are growing eyeballs, you're growing things, and so you're creating these replicants. And if you remember in Blade Runner, they had very short lives, but they were much stronger than humans. They were more intelligent, depending on what they had been designed to do, and so they were being sent out into like the more dangerous places that normal you wouldn't want to send normal humans.
Well, that was that Rutger Hauer reference at the end. He's like saying he was like stars on fire on the shoulder of Orion and
Like
stuff.
tears in the
Attack
rain.
ships
That's
on
it.
fire.
That's it.
You know, and then all his memories would just be washed away.
Oh, I'll watch Blade Runner now.
That's what we're doing after this
He actually
podcast.
made those lines up himself, didn't he?
Oh, is it all
He did.
improvised?
It was all improvised.
Yeah,
He came out improvised that. Bless him. He's a fantastic guy.
amazing.
Sadly
actor.
missed. Sadly
Yes,
missed.
yes.
He's not with us anymore. So you have your android, which is the human replicant, and then you have your cyborg, which is the combination of you combining robotics with humanoids.
So there you're talking Cybermen and the Borg.
Yeah, but the applications for you think about the actual physical, fantastic applications you could have that if you can design limbs which worked perfectly well.
Yeah.
And that if somebody had lost a limb, you can, rather than just having, I mean, they have great prosthetics now, but actually having...
Well, they
a
have
pros-
robotic arms, don't they?
Yeah, prosthetic arms have come quite a long way.
They've
with
come a long
robotics.
way already.
Exoskeletons.
exoskeleton would be.
Or is that more of a
They
suit?
don't think for themselves, do they?
It's more of a
just something
vehicle,
rare.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's something that will increase, and they do use those because they have them in warehouses to pick up heavier packages than a human can't pick them up. But if they're wearing the exoskeleton, they can do that without any back injuries and things.
It's like
So
the thing from-
exoskeletons
I think
are,
I need one of those.
are,
the,
are a
like the
thing.
one from Aliens.
Yes, I love that. It's the transport. What was it? It's
That's the power loader.
Power
the
loader, yeah.
P5000i power
So-
loader.
That's
I think.
more. Again, that's more of like it doesn't have
a
its
suit.
own. It's not a robot. It's just a thing that a
it's
human
just a
can
piece
use.
of transport.
Like
Yeah.
transport or a vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, vehicle.
Is it the integration with
I
like
mean,
the human form that kind of makes it a
Yeah.
cyborg?
Well, no, because it's not actually part of the human, is it? The
Okay.
human isn't melded with the mechanics.
And
Like
having it
Robocop.
You
having
could-
the melding
yeah.
that makes it
So,
the cyborg.
so Elon Musk at the moment is working on that physical implant called Neuralink,
Mm-hmm.
which is meant to be an under-the-skin implant in the skull, which then can control things around you in your environment.
Can you
So-
supposedly play music in your head or something?
I've seen one that
Yeah.
you can see like live subtitles, so people are talking in a different language, and it kind of translates it to English, and you can read subtitles in real time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can just go to any country and understand.
I think what we've got to say, guys, is that we are on a turning point.
on the
The
prefaces.
verge.
We're,
The
you know,
preface.
a lot of this stuff.
Precipice
Precipice.
Well, a precipice would kind of imply that you're going to fall down.
into oblivion.
Into
Oh well,
oblivion.
that's a debate for later in the episode.
Okay, so and it is a serious debate, but we are, without doubt, at a turning point in human history right now. Before it was science fiction, now it's becoming.
We're actually
science reality.
seeing these
Science.
The-
developments
The
become
ability
reality.
to create these robots is an actual thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to probably say that the three main areas I've looked at and I'm going to focus on in this discussion are Boston Dynamics, which are probably
Yeah.
everybody's seen. They're dog-like robots. They've got quite a range of the dog-like ones, as well as they've got the Atlas bot, which is the one that does parkour and everything.
Oh,
And
flips.
they always beat up.
So they're always been out. You get
Poor thing.
you get a lot of kind of like dodgy videos where they've have it with machine guns.
And you wonder why the robot uprising is going to happen.
Then we've got obviously the upcoming Tesla bots, which
Yeah.
are in production
Yeah.
in a prototype form at the moment.
They're probably the most sort of human-like looking
and
so
that's
far.
what he wants. And then you have the Ameca robot, which I mentioned, which is the most advanced AI robot. So that one is getting to the point of
Facial expressions.
facial
and things.
expression, feeling emotions, because it gets angry if you poke it on the nose and things like that.
How can you program emotions?
It's learning,
Right.
isn't it? It's all about learning.
Okay.
This is okay. So we're
Just
gonna,
like this
we're going
podcast.
to take a little jump on this one.
We
because
are an AI.
we spoke about artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and literally in the past week, what has come up in the news bulletins that I picked up on is the next generation of artificial intelligence, which is called ASI, which is artificial super intelligence.
We're going to do an episode.
We're going to
sort of
do an
dedicated
episode
to
on that, but
yeah.
with AI, you have to feed it the
Mm.
information,
Mm-hmm.
and like with these AI bots that you can go online, names of them, can you think? GP.
Chat GPT.
GPT. There's
Yeah.
Eve.
There's
one called
lots of the ones that do the artwork.
Yeah.
So you just type in a line,
takes prompts and things.
and
yeah.
it will just scan stuff.
Godzilla on a pogo stick.
Yeah. So
There you go.
it's basically then going
It's a
to take
big-
those
big pogo stick.
keywords, going to scan all the information on the internet, however it goes about doing that with its programming, and then compile something.
We had some examples of that in our previous
Yes,
AI episode.
I put them on the social media channels.
But
There you go.
technically, with artificial intelligence, you still have to have human input to teach it and to progress it. Whereas and we'll obviously look into this in greater depth with our ASI episode, but artificial super intelligence is meant to be the next stage, which is in development right now, I believe, and it learns. It's an artificial intelligence which is autonomous. It wants to learn, and it will learn off its own back. And
So
improve
it will
itself.
seek out information.
Seek out
Scan the
information,
entire internet. Like
grow,
Ultron.
grow,
Skynet.
grow itself without the need of any human input to get better and better. But you're talking at trillionths of a second it can
Yeah.
calculate things.
With infinite capacity,
Infinite.
unlike the human brain, which can only
Exactly. And
yeah.
when you then think you're going to put that into a robots
into essentially a vehicle.
a vehicle that can move
with
around.
posable thumbs.
Well, this throws up a lot of things, and we're going to focus on the robots, as I say, but it's difficult not to. But you can almost see that there's going to be kind of AI wars, because if you've got businesses or governments that are pushing forward with their artificial intelligence and their artificial superintelligence, they need to try and outgun other countries, because if their intelligence starts to infiltrate theirs and it's been told, we want you to cripple their...
Find out everything. Yeah.
There's going to be... you can have this kind of AI war.
It's like an
Because
arms race.
that's a lot of the things in the actual news at the moment is about how
AI,
are they going to regulate this?
Yeah, and that is a problem with AI, and
Because it develops so fast that they can't bring out regulations to come out.
And talking about the
kind of
robots, you can't have the robots
hold
like
it back a
Tesla
bit.
bots and Atlas robots and Ameca without imbuing them with AI.
Mhm.
They have to have AI, otherwise they're always going to be just a simple
yeah.
programmable robot.
Ones
They
and
have to learn.
zeros.
Yeah, they have to learn and be able to make certain decisions, become autonomous, like we just said with the autonomously driving cars. They have to be able to make decisions themselves. How far that's going to go, we do not know. But take Tesla, for example. Now, these figures are changing all the time, but he said that Elon Musk said that he wanted to create about 1,000 in the first year, and that by the end of 2024, off the production line, he wanted to be able to, by the end of 2024, have about 1 million on the market.
Tesla bots.
Tesla bots.
Now, wasn't there a big thing about he wanted to make like all of them in-house? Because he was outsourcing a lot of like the bits and pieces to put them together.
He couldn't find the right servos from
That's
other
it.
companies, and
But he wants to get all the manufacturing
he wants
in-house.
all the manufacturing in-house, so that they're 100% manufactured by Tesla.
Yeah.
And the Tesla bots themselves will then be creating Tesla bots.
Machines,
so-
building machines.
But of course, then that throws up the discussion of people losing their jobs if you're
Yeah.
suddenly creating robots that replace people's jobs. However, if you just take a step back for a moment, look at that. We're already living in a society where robots have, for many years, taken away people's jobs. But people find other jobs.
Isn't the counter argument that it would then provide jobs for people to become technicians?
Yeah,
But
there
what
will-
if
but
the
what-
robots can then repair themselves and they don't
A
need...
technician.
You're always going to need. I'd like to think you're
The
always
human
going to need the
touch.
human touch. So, with
No,
with these
I don't think
production, well, no, you think about it. If you get mass production lines, you've still got these production lines have got to be built. You've
robots
got to
build it.
build the buildings themselves, and there will be thousands upon thousands of new jobs, and jobs in areas that perhaps we haven't even thought of at the moment. Yeah, because people wouldn't have said
Someone's got to name them all.
30 years ago, go back to the early 90s, and especially in the 80s, nobody would have even thought of anybody actually making a living off of being an IT technician.
Or
something.
even
It
social
wasn't-
media influencer,
you know,
podcasters, for instance.
These things didn't exist, and nobody would have even been able to guess that it would be a thing.
I'm going to get replaced by a robot next week. So.
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
Well, we won't be able
On,
to tell the difference.
Just on this
Not,
podcast.
not if it's an Android. No.
Maybe I already am.
So you've got Tesla pushing forward now. Tesla, we've already seen some videos recently of, I think, half a dozen of these very basic bots walking about.
Yeah.
But he wants to really make them very much
All I've really seen of
humanoid.
the Tesla bot update, the most recent one, is that they can show it quite a simple task and it can then copy that task, like placing something on a table. Or it's very basic at the moment, but they can walk around and.
But once you start integrating the AI with it, and that AI becomes super AI, then they will be able to learn much faster.
And it starts questioning its existence.
Or you should be able to start saying to it, how can we improve the design of you?
Yeah.
And it can design parts of itself that would probably normally take years to develop within an incredibly short period
Would
of
it
time
understand
to improve.
like morality?
Well, this is the thing. I mean,
Or would
Ameca-
it just see us as, I think we saw a video earlier,
will
that just bipedal, irrational
it's
will
meat
robots-
creatures?
Will it love?
robots are meant to dream. Yeah, do robots have electric dreams? Or what?
Do electric sheep
Yeah.
dream? of
No,
something?
do
no.
robots dream of
Electric sheep. There you go.
What do the electric sheep dream of?
Sheep.
Sheep.
I don't know what that is.
They're dreaming of
That's what they're talking about, these robots.
exactly. So, but
I am an android. I don't know what I'm talking.
so we have this situation where it is really snowballing at the moment, and of course, robots. Tesla is looking to get robots into people's houses at an affordable price, but not just an affordable price, because he's looking to lease them out, like you lease a car out.
Right.
So like, you're not necessarily looking to buy the robot that's in your home, but you lease it.
And it becomes part of like your bills. You're like,
Exactly.
pay the Tesla bot for the
Yes,
week.
it just like your street.
It's got its charging station, like a Tesla car. You just plug it in
And
Where's
of
the
course,
charging port?
You know, if
on the robot
if anything
or the house.
If anything
To
goes
bend it over.
wrong, it reports itself probably, and
in the
around
button.
comes an automated, vehicle that it loads itself up on, and it goes off to the repair shop, or they give you a
Or
loan.
would it be wireless charging?
Where is the charge port? That's what I want to know.
Maybe it's in the
charging socket?
Could it be in the feet?
Well,
In the feet. There you go.
Through the feet. Of
No,
one of those.
I think it should be in the
It'd be like the Borg.
You want a rectal
Sorry?
socket.
rectal charging port.
Mr. Lister, it keeps falling out.
And going back to the AI portion of this, would the AI be specific to each individual unit, or would it be like a blanket AI for the entire army of these robots?
I think what you were going to be talking about, and of course, this is the great thing about the Now We Know show, and for all those people listening, we're coming at this from your man in the street perspective. We're
just have an
trying to
interest.
make as much sense of this from the information that we can glean without going into fantasy.
But also having
stuff.
fun. Having fun.
But sticking to as much factual stuff as we can
Yes.
glean.
And this is just the information we gather.
So when you ask that question, I'm assuming that it will be all these Tesla bots will be working across the same kind of network.
Skynet.
Well, not Skynet, but I think if you think of what's the one in Marvel,
You think Jarvis?
the Jarvis, but what was the
Ultron.
other? Ultron. So, but hopefully without them going bad. But the idea is they are
I see what you mean, yeah.
autonomous enough to be able to make decisions. Because obviously you have those the laws of Asimov, which I'm not going to say because I'm saving them for the end.
Okay.
But you've got to have these bots, and they're going to work over the same network, of course, and they're there to serve and do whatever they're designed to do and help human beings in all sorts of ways.
They'll share information with each other.
Share information, and across that, and so if you, and somebody needs to be sitting there. I mean, I make it sound very basic, but somebody's going to be sitting in a control room somewhere, monitoring all these things. Because if there's a glitch here or a glitch there, and he's sorting out or whatever, it's got to be flagged.
If it grabs a weapon or something.
Yeah, well, now that's interesting. We're going to get to the darker side of it as we go through this. But you also, so the Tesla bot is also known as the Optimus bot.
That's
Okay?
it, yeah.
The Optimus bot.
Autobots,
Roll out.
roll out.
So is Optimus the name of the
The bot itself.
The
Yeah.
bot itself. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's just the Tesla. It's the brand, isn't it? Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla is the brand. So everybody refers to them as Tesla bot, but it's actually called the Optimus bot.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk says himself that it's going to be the most, or is the most important invention since the wheel
Wow.
when it comes
That
to
is
changing
a
the way
bold-
that we live.
That's a bold
He's
statement.
a very humble man, isn't he, Elon Musk?
But having humanoid bots
Mm.
interacting with
But-
us is the next level.
It's
Isn't
got-
that
yeah,
just
it's
gonna like
just got
Now,
to be.
mean
this-
that humans are just gonna not know how to do anything?
Well,
but to a
Other
certain
than
extent,
build
I think
robots.
it will be like I don't know, because we'll obviously still need a purpose. As
It's
humans.
like humans and fire. If you ask somebody make a fire, unless they've got like a match or a self lighting oven or something, they won't know how to do it.
see, most people always talk about.
If you
the-
give them a flint and
yeah,
steel,
people talk about the fire triangle. Don't
Yeah.
they? You know, you have to have your form of combustion. You know, something that will ignite.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to have something that will cause that ignition. So, for example, you might have a flammable substance. You might have a spark, and you need oxygen, and you combine those three together, and you get fire. But I always talk about with humans, you have the fire diamond, because you can have some combustible material, you can have oxygen, you can have a means to make a spark, but without the human input, fire doesn't happen.
or the robot input.
Or robot input. So yes, so
it's a lighter in the finger.
But as Zach was saying, if you don't have the knowledge to do that, then you have no fire.
And a lot of people nowadays don't have that knowledge.
So your theory is we'll be so reliant on robots that
we will become the floaty chair people from Wall-E.
we won't need to drive cars. We won't need to like
The cars
things
will
like
be
that.
driving us.
Yeah.
We will be, supposedly the majority of people will be working within the metaverse.
Yeah.
So you'll be putting your headsets on,
Ordering your food and shopping.
ordering your food and shopping, and living as a different avatar in this world. In this
Ready Player
world.
I mean, that happens now.
As we said in the last series, we won't be going necessarily to the cinema, physical. I mean, I'm sure there will be physical cinemas, picture houses that will be there for people who want that old-fashioned feeling.
old-timey, and they go watch Avatar from
Meanwhile,
2009.
people will put their headset on and go to the multiplex in the metaverse to see
in
the
4D
latest.
or something.
That's
Yeah,
it.
cut out the travel time.
You know. So anyway, lest we
If you want
digress
to
too
listen,
much.
if you want to listen to that conversation, that was in the previous episode.
About physical media versus streaming.
And it was a good one. People really enjoy listening to that one.
Link in the description.
However, you're talking about the roles of people,
Yes.
and that brings us on to another area, which is, I would say, when it comes to research on the internet, it's predominantly governed by Boston Dynamics
Yeah.
and their Atlas bot. Okay,
That's
and
one of the first. Sorry to interrupt. That was one of the first bits of footage I saw of a robot that could actually kind
Do
of
things.
do things.
that
I
actually
remember.
looked like it could do things.
Yes.
Rather than something. There's a lot of the old robots used to still have the umbilical cords on them, didn't
Like
they?
Asimo.
And they would kind of like walk very robotically, and if they got it wrong, they'd fall over.
Yeah.
But with Atlas,
It can balance itself.
I'm already calling it a he. You know, it's
Yeah.
genderless, but it can do all these things.
Mm.
And that's talking about replacements of humans with Boston Dynamics. That's the whole point, you see, because they're saying with their dog-like transportation robots, which the military are already testing out for carrying loads through all sorts of terrain,
Yeah.
they can obviously weaponize them, as well as the flying drones that we've already spoken about. But the idea is with things like Atlas, you can replace humans and send them into the really dangerous environments, whether that be a war zone, whether it
Or
be
somewhere very
high danger.
inhospitable.
Yeah, so
Hostage situation.
or a nuclear disaster where there's high radiation, you can send these people, so humans.
Poor robots.
So the idea being is that they remove the human element of needing to be in the army. You don't need humans as soldiers anymore.
Mm.
If anything, your humans are back in a base somewhere, controlling things.
Warfare goes online.
Yeah.
I don't think warfare will be fought on land for much longer.
So
I think it
well,
will be cyber.
Well, we
I
touched
mean,
about that. If you
it's-
think about AI wars,
Yeah.
if you were a superpower and you could design a super AI and it's working like, and I've forgotten the name of that thing again.
Ultron.
Ultron.
That's it.
So you're thinking about the super AI that's working like Ultron, and you say to it, "We need you to infiltrate."
To cripple.
Well, not necessarily even cripple, but if you could get a super AI to meld with another country's
Yeah.
complete private network of military,
Which everyone is
Systems.
so reliant on nowadays.
and meld it. So we want you to get in there. We want you to get in there, so we're getting all the information back, and you can shut it down at any moment we choose you to do that.
Yeah.
Or control it however you
Control
want.
Would that not be?
And the other countries are going to be thinking, we don't want to let that happen. We must have our AI doing it back. You see what?
God.
So I can see the AI wars happening.
And should that happen, would that not be a more effective way of, say, taking over a country? Because if you use nuclear warheads, you then have the radiation. But with AI, you wouldn't.
With AI, you can do it very subtly, but also you can probably produce so much fake news that the mass populace would believe, which would be fake, false, and to topple countries, to topple governments. Or we are in, as we say, at this turning point in history.
Scary.
But if we bring it back to the robots, again, if you are sending robots into environments, say combat environments and things, again, what's to stop an enemy from retrieving said robots and reprogramming them?
Self-destruct systems.
It's a bit like.
Or if you've got this network of robots that are in people's homes and they are doing whatever they're doing,
Preparing a meal.
you need somebody, human interaction, working that network, because they are continually, think about it, continually under threat of being hacked. You don't want a hacker, even if it's an individual hacker in their basement in the middle of, I don't know, Nebraska somewhere, or a government somewhere, hacking robots and suddenly turning them into some kind of homicidal maniacs.
There's already been cases of hackers being able to hack into like Ring doorbells and see through the cameras and see through sort of
Even
home security
the,
systems.
Charging
The
for
charging
cars.
points. I didn't originally know that the charging points had to be connected up to your Wi-Fi. But yes, then it turned out when I've discovered this that hackers were hacking into people's Wi-Fi systems through the
And
charging
basically
ports.
turning
Your
up the bills like silly money.
With I was actually in a Tesla car the other day.
Oh.
You were in a bat. Oh, no, I can't say.
You're in a
he was in a beep the other day.
I was in a Tesla, and everything's like connected to your phone. Like you've got like almost like a tablet screen in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can hack through the charging port, which is connected to the car, which connects to your phone, then that's everything.
Well, your car interacts with your phone because when friends of ours that have got electric cars,
GPS and stuff.
they will wake up in the morning and they'll just put the heating on in the car from their phone. So it's already warm for when they get in there. But if it's in the winter, the windows are all defrosted for when they get in it. You know, all these kind of things. Again, we're talking about the Internet of Things. So all your devices are taken. And we're going back to that neural net as well.
Yeah.
One of the science fiction stories that I've written before Neuralink came out with Elon Musk. I'd already put a brain interface chip.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
In one of my stories, yet to come out, but it will.
Maybe he hacked into your phone and found out the information.
It was. I kind of like writing this story down, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I had this idea 6 months ago, if not longer. You know. Anyway, so the idea that everything is going to be controlled around us, that we can control our environment, and part of that environment is an actual fully working humanoid robot as well. You've got to think also of the threats that could be posed, because you're going to get somebody who's going to think it's absolutely a wheeze to see if they could hack one and make it do something stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
Like grab a bread knife or something.
And so you grab a bread knife.
Anything.
You know? Even just, just decide to start dancing because it's comical to suddenly, why is my robot just like start
jump off a roof?
You know,
What's to stop it from doing that?
So the manufacturers are going to be trying to make sure that
it goes back to that regulatory factors again.
Yeah.
Like how do they
and you've got
prevent it?
So we're talking about robots with Tesla and the Optimus bots for domestic usage, and then your Boston Dynamics or your bots which are for combat and military use. And they're probably a crossover, maybe, because we don't know what's happening behind.
Is it going to be like those PS3s where they have that little seal, like "Do not open, otherher's you void the warranty"?
Probably.
You know where that seal is as well.
And then where do you want the seal? Sorry, where do you want it, Jack?
Sorry.
He's got an obsession.
Someone's got to stop people from.
Okay, listeners, you're probably used to Jack by now.
What?
Okay, you're probably used to Jack by now. So, okay, I'm going to broach the subject. As soon as you get humanoid robots, somebody's going to want to have sex with it, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, so that's going to be the next thing. They're going to be doing latex skins, aren't they? God knows what the hell.
Oh my! How did we go down this road?
What the hell is going to
Your
be going
influence, Jack, here.
You go in someone's house and their Tesla bot will be wearing a wig and makeup.
or the French maid's outfit.
Something about the dead face.
But again, there was a thing in the news.
Look, it's the Marilyn Monroe.
There was a thing in the news this week. Now, this is very dark in a way.
Oh no.
But it's with AI and going back to the.
And the population goes down because nobody's making babies.
Well, if you go, well, that's not a bad thing. We
to get your robot cleaned out.
We have got
a.
Don't, Jack.
Dude,
please.
come on.
Get your own little scraper tool.
No. A loofah on a drill. Look, there was a dark thing that was on the news this week, and it was about the AI creating artwork.
Yes.
And there are obviously government agencies that are working for the police that search out for things like child pornography.
Right.
And if they find this, they won't close it down. Quite rightly so. Fully understandable. But they were interviewing, they had this guy masked out so you couldn't see who he was. It was an artist, I think he was Japanese. But he was using AI, making loads of, as he called, cutie pictures of young children. And he said, well, the fact is, that means no child has been exploited because no physical children are being abused.
That's very
not real.
But the images are so real that
they could be
detective agencies employed to find this stuff literally can't tell the difference.
It's like a needle in a haystack, isn't it?
So where do you so you suddenly you're trying to track these abusers down and say this stuff 100% illegal, we're going to close you down because it's child abuse. Somebody else is producing images, 100% believable that they look real, but they're not. So where do you stand?
You know, they were talking about, do they like watermark it? Do they put in some kind of metadata into the images that kind of tells that it's fake?
But again, it's like that you said about the AI wars. Not to that extent, but almost like you could flood a country with all sorts of like fake images of their president doing something.
Oh, you've seen all the videos of Arnold Schwarzenegger singing
or
the
like,
Sound of Music and all.
Even like,
even
the
Sound of Music.
Even I've seen like things of like Putin doing like TikTok dances and things where it's just like deep faked his face on. So if it gets to the point where it's like indistinguishable from reality, and you flood all that into people's phones, they're like, what?
It can really mess with people's heads.
It's going to mess with people. It will.
It does.
It will, and it's going to. The whole metaverse thing is going to introduce so many issues psychologically for people, because I can see people with a metaverse living in a false reality, which is of their own design, which is in their idea are perfect, and then when they take that headset off and they're in the real world, everything's not perfect.
Because the thing is,
to go back into their
the thing
metaverse.
Is, these things should be a tool, not a. It should make something easier. It shouldn't like replace your life.
It's like the endorphins you get from like going to say like a theme park that's in the metaverse or something, or seeing a friend or whatever you're doing in the metaverse. You get that high from what you would do when you experience life in real life, and then when you take the headset off and you're back in your living room that's all dusty and decayed because you've not taken care of it, you're going to be, like you said, going back into that world.
And of course, as we were just saying, with the darker side of it, with the sex industry, you're going to have people forming relationships, a bit like the old film Cherry 2000. They're going to be forming relationships with their bots.
Well, I mean,
because
they already do in some countries. They already do with these
in the more Asian
online like avatars and things.
So that's taken it to the next stage, isn't it?
In some cases, it's actually because some people actually have them hacked and things, and it is like considered murder in some countries if you hack
destroy somebody's avatar.
Yeah,
because that's like their
because that is their thing.
They can legally divorce people and stuff, can't they? Because they marry their avatars and stuff. Most people. God knows how where the planet is, but I am now
somewhere in space.
For the input that you're putting into this conversation, guys, I can really see that the whole idea that we're on this, as you say, precipice. We're going on a journey to somewhere.
It seems more and more
again
likely.
with the AI and now the the artificial superintelligence. Everything is racing forwards so fast.
So rapidly.
Well, are you familiar with Black Mirror? Have you ever watched the Black Mirror series?
You've mentioned
on Netflix?
it before, yes.
So one of the more recent episodes called I forget what the title is, but it basically there's like a fake version of Netflix, and what it basically is like a procedurally generated Netflix. So it's kind of like going from the internet and basically just giving you endless content on Netflix using AI.
Okay.
So something like
AI
that
is just generating
which
is kind of touches upon the strikes they're having in America with the film industry at the moment, because if AI takes over producing. Creating content and writing content.
Where do the humans stand?
Exactly, and they're like, we've got 3,000 more shows being procedurally generated as we speak, and you can just tune in and watch whatever you.
I mean, this week Zach and I, we all got emails, didn't we?
Oh yes, from casting agencies.
From casting agencies saying that all the American ones have been shut down.
Yeah.
And,
by the way, do not expect any work over the next few months. Or it will be very quiet.
For people like us, which are artists,
and sometimes you can be very dependent on such a job.
To cover
and there are a lot of people that do that as their only profession.
So if you've suddenly got
AI,
it's
hit my industry as well. So
So if you've got AI producing that kind of content, and so your Black Mirror, what happened in the end?
There's a big twist. You'll have to watch it.
It's an
anthology series. Okay. Every story is kind of based on a new bit of technology. You'd very enjoy it. You'd really enjoy it.
So what we've got to look to in the future is actually having these robots getting to a stage of being autonomous, being able to make decisions, be able to control things in their environment by making those decisions themselves without human input.
Yeah, knowing if it's damaged or it needs repair and things.
Yeah, so if you take the military aspect, it needs to know what a friendly is compared to an enemy.
And again, if that's hacked and it switches.
So taking this to like the extremes, and obviously everyone is developing their own type of these robots, these AI. Would it not come to a point like in iRobot where they've literally got the next generation of these robots and AI coming out what happens to the old ones?
I've always
Are
been
they
under the impression.
held in storage containers somewhere.
I would assume they'll be looking to recycle.
I've always been my theory.
But then,
iRobot.
but then, if that AI is sentient, is that not again coming on to the question of is it murder to destroy this thing?
Yeah.
Again, very moral questions.
My thought process has always been, as long as the robots themselves can't then develop robots and give them brains to think for themselves.
Independently.
Yes, because at the moment, the way I see it, if every human disappeared tomorrow, AI and everything would kind of stop because we're still putting so much into it.
Yeah.
And the robots wouldn't have any purpose or anything. They just fade away.
They wouldn't be able to function.
When it gets to a point where the robots don't need human input and they can develop themselves and then program
But I think
themselves.
that's what we're talking about, Jack.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
where
thing
I
is,
think the problem. That's where I think we're.
Because AI is accelerating so much, because the ability to construct humanoid robots to actually be able to do tasks is developing so fast. The combination of those 2 points means that you can see how it will exponentially accelerate in the very near future. Because if you get to the point where robots can then build robots, are we going to get to the point where we go, well, this is fantastic, this is great, this is super. Oh, hang on, we've gone.
What do we do?
We're
a bit too far.
We're outnumbered.
We're obsolete.
We're
What do we do?
outnumbered, Yeah, we talked about in a very early episode, and I forget which one it was, but I think Buzz mentioned about the trajectory of technology since like the Victorian age. It's just suddenly
Boom.
Suddenly boom.
Just-
It's suddenly shot up.
yeah, like
Any
almost
other
like a-
period in human history, I mean, you look back at the Roman technology with, simple mechanics, if you like, water viaducts, underfloor heating, things like that. Yeah, that was in the we're in the UK, and we had that here. We had villas with underfloor heating, and because the Romans had come from Italy to where we had basically the Celtic tribes, which were living in brown houses,
just barbarian.
technology-wise, yes. So, but then that technology has got kind of lost because through the medieval period we didn't have underfloor heating and things. But still, it's all very basic technology. It wasn't sort of advanced. And then
It's all
suddenly
practical stuff.
we hit the 20th century.
It's this period
Yes,
of innovation, isn't
the
it?
First World War, we're still charging at people on battalions of horses.
I mean, we're dropping bricks from planes.
against machine
Tanks are
guns.
coming the other way. Yeah.
People are still clubbing people to death with clubs and maces in trenches, and then there's
Made out of sticks and
dropping
whatever you can find.
mustard gas on people, and it's absolutely horrendous. And of course, war has that kind of flip side where it pushes technology.
Yeah.
But wars in the past have always been fought with bows, arrows, swords, gunpowder, things like that. Then you get the Second World War, and of course, mankind from the First World War has started to fly. Now we're flying, and
We're technically still throwing sticks and stones at each other,
Yeah.
but just more
I mean,
developed ones.
And then you've got Vietnam with the helicopters and the PBRs and
And
things like that.
napalm
Yeah.
and stuff.
but we're
really
still
daft.
using everything's
stuff.
analog
Yeah.
as far as the communications and everything is concerned. And then suddenly,
And it's all built by us.
so if you took that timeline across from when the ancient, let's call them cavemen, but ancient men and women
Sapien.
were chipping out and first doing their first flint knapping to make a rudimentary hand axe and to make an arrowhead and to be able to harness the power of fire. It's really slow, and it happens over literally thousands of years. And even to the late Victorian age.
It's learnt skills, isn't it?
We suddenly have steam engines,
Yeah, and industrial era.
but by the end of the 20th century, we've got
iPads.
and now we're in the 21st century, and we're talking humanoid.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that
talking
will
about going back. We're
eventually
talking about
replace us.
we're talking about war, not even sending humans into war. It's
Now
all
we're
going to
sending
be
robots into war, and war via
wavelengths. and
Robot
things.
wars.
and that's where we are at the moment.
Crazy stuff.
So where
Quite a dark ending.
so where do you think this is going? I mean, obviously it's got its plus sides, because an AI can, for medical purposes.
I was going to say medical reasons.
Robotics are going to be fantastic for allowing people to have. I mean, if somebody can't walk, if you put an exoskeleton on them, they can walk again. They can have all these things. The AI itself can number crunch so fast that it can probably come up with new drugs and things to cure things that would have taken years previously.
They've recently found or developed a device that can scan your body, can't they, and detect like cancers and things.
Well,
It's all-
if they're
it's all-
going into that area where they basically take DNA samples and then say that what the probabilities are that in
Yeah.
the future you're going to even I saw, I think it was BBC Click program. There was a company, I'm not sure which country it's in, might have been Germany, but they can pretty much predict when you're going to die.
Wow, yeah.
And they
Jeez.
and the reporter said, "Oh, you can tell me," and they said, "No, we're not allowed to tell anybody
Yeah.
that kind of." And of course, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And a good example of that is
It would make you live your life a bit differently, though.
well,
wouldn't it?
my dear mother. Those of you that know June, who does the
Indiana Jones World of Adventures.
she's got a little story where she was only a little kid,
Mm.
and she said an Indian salesman came to their door. Can't remember what he was selling, but he told her that she was going to live to 92
Mm.
as a kid, and she has never forgotten that. And now she's 87, and so she's got this real feeling of imminent mortality.
Wow, yeah.
And she's always reminded me that all through my childhood and my adulthood. Oh, I'm going to live to 92. Then you start approaching that age, and you start thinking, oh,
Mm.
I haven't got much time left. Nobody should be presented with that in
No.
their
Yeah,
head.
knowledge. Yeah.
You know, that man should never have said that.
I mean, we're not saying he was right.
no, all right, he's probably making it all up. But the
Of course
point
he
is,
was. He was trying to sell something.
and I keep telling Mum, no, you're going to get your letter from the King at least at 100. Don't you worry about it. But that's the point. You don't want companies that are going to start scanning your DNA and then making maybe insurance decisions on you.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, to say, oh, you're highly likely
At
to have
risk
this,
or-
at
yeah.
risk. So
Well,
if you want insurance, you're going to have to pay.
you have
premium.
inferior genetics. Sorry.
There's like these like tattoo. You know, Apple have got like the rings where you get if like you get your rings in. So it's like you do a certain amount of steps and the ring will fill up. And then
Oh,
you
you're
get a
talking
ring.
about on the
Like
fitness
yeah.
apps.
So there's certain things that are like tattoos and things that can detect whether you've had enough sunlight and whether
Oh,
you've
right.
had enough
Wow.
steps and if your blood sugar level is correct. And it's
Yeah, well, we're,
Well, people are getting these things like attached to their arms and even into the side of their heads that can help them hear,
yeah.
like
Cochlear
see
implant,
colours and
yeah.
things,
Yeah.
or process
Yeah.
colours.
These
so
are
for
all-
these reasons,
These are all
like
robotics
yeah.
to a certain extent.
Mm.
And
So that's on the
obviously
positive side.
and they're all going to be pushed forward with AI and get better and better. So that we've got massive positive sides, but there is a big dark side. So I think we'll probably leave this discussion.
I have one
Okay.
thing.
One curveball.
on curveball.
Would this not eventually come to kind of this point of coexistence where we would transfer our consciousness into a robotic form
Well, that would be the next step. If
to
the
to
brain-
kind of
Futurama.
balance
Heads in
the
the
two sides
Well,
and somehow coexist?
everybody's brain works from digital.
Electrical impulses.
Digital electrical impulses.
Signals.
And if you could find a way of taking those electrical impulses and literally taking somebody's...
Put it on this memory stick.
If you could do that, and you could slap it into basically a body which would never wear out, or you could just keep upgrading it if necessary, but you still had the capacity to expand your consciousness,
Mm.
then you're talking immortality, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, there's another
The
Netflix.
next stage in human
There's
evolution.
another Netflix series, Alien
Get rid of
Worlds.
the old biological...
Meat vehicles.
Yeah, meat sack.
There's another. I think another
Not a very
Netflix,
flattering term, is it?
Netflix series called, I think it's called Alien Worlds, Alien Planet or something.
I think.
I
Did
think
you
we-
say something about
yeah,
this
we
before?
recommended it to you before, and that gets to a point where it's almost like a nature documentary, but it's set in like a fictional future. That gets to a point where the Earth's decayed and it's non-livable, so humans are just basically brains in boxes, and they're robots that kind of attend to the boxes and make sure they're at the right humidity and like they're moisturized and things, and the humans are just floating around as brains and presumably having a
ultimately,
great
it all
time.
goes completely wrong. Our forests end up being in a couple of domes in space,
Yeah.
and then
Oh.
and they survive by being looked after by robots.
Silent running.
Have you
Silent
watched
running.
it?
Zach recommended it
Oh,
to me
you've gotta
today.
watch
'cause
it.
He,
saw
he
the
almost got it today.
Silent Running is one of my favourite sci-fi movies. It's so meaningful
Yeah.
was
in its
the-
message.
The company you said about that were looking to take industry like off-world.
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin.
That's we've obviously spoken about Elon Musk, but if we go over to Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin, he wants to, and it's a good philosophy, take all heavy industry off planet.
Yeah.
Because really there's no need for it. If you can get heavy industry off planet, because there are so many resources in our solar system, whether you start mining the moon or whether you go off to the asteroid belt, if you can make it because that's the thing with the robots. They might seem expensive tech, but once you start mass producing something,
It becomes less valuable.
it becomes less and less, and you
Yeah.
can produce it in vast numbers at a cheap price.
It's like the very first mobile phone would have been very expensive, but now everyone's got a mobile phone, so you can
Exactly.
you can pick up a phone
Exactly,
for
and that
50 quid.
technology you've got in your mobile phone outstrips
Yeah,
anything, and so with what you say with the philosophy of taking industry off planet, the idea being is you turn the planet back into the
Utopia.
paradise and
Yeah.
utopia it should be, and get everything manufactured off planet, where of course you don't have to pull on the resources of the planet because you're doing all that off planet. And of course we did the Artemis 1 podcast. We're going to revisit that definitely, because in not too distant future that's going to be going back to the moon, and then
Yay.
the next step is to go
Space station
to
on the moon.
Mars.
Go to Aston Mars, which we also did a podcast on.
And you never know, there might be a crossover there, because if you've got robots that are designed to go into hostile environments where human beings would find it very difficult to
Navigate.
perform,
Yeah,
you could be seeing spaceships going to Mars with humanoid robots that are then building everything there ready for the first colonists to turn up.
it's like
or
alien.
or they just lose contact with Earth, and then however many years later, once we've kind of forgotten about it, they invade.
Well,
They've got their own
they've built their own
civilization.
civilization. Well, that's kind of what happened with, well, not quite that happened, but what happened with, what was that TV series that wasn't too long ago, with Sci-Fi One, where you had the Belters.
Oh, The Expanse.
The Expanse. They sent all the scientists off to Mars to basically terraform Mars, and so Mars ended up having the best society with all the brainy people and all the
Best equipment, best
and
technology.
all the
Well, it's
idiots were left on planet
It's
Earth.
like a film called Elysium as well, and Matt Damon.
Yes.
Yeah, with-
That's
yes.
like a space station in space where all the rich people go and get all of their diseases cured, and they live in a paradise.
Well, I think
And everyone else on Earth is living in like a.
we may well find, as we approach 2050, with the population boom as it is and the draw on resources, we could be seeing a kind of a society divide like that. But
big
we
gap,
shall see. I'm not
We'll have to revisit the topic in 2050 to see where we
things,
stand.
so many things this robotics discussion has touched upon. But let's face it, guys, by the end of 2024, we might actually be seeing humanoid robots walking about.
We might be able to get a Tesla bot in the studio.
Who
to
would have
ask
thought
his
that
experience?
who would have thought that we'd have a takeaway delivered by a little buggy?
Yeah.
And so in a year's time, 2
Would
years'
we have
time,
to give them tips? Would they accept tips? I don't know.
It's
I mean,
kind
that's
of-
back to our previous.
Well, it's
thing
kind of one of
about
those things.
putting
When
your
I-
things in the robots.
Yeah, I went I was off to do some filming yesterday, and on the way I stopped off at the garage to get a meal deal for my lunch,
Yeah.
and there was a bank of those self-service tills.
It's a lot of those now.
And
Yeah.
there was just one person on till, and I just stood there queuing up for the one person on the till,
Yeah.
while everybody else was using the self-service ones, because I think that person needs their job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm going to go there. And I can see that you could have these self-service ones where maybe it's like a half-torso robot that's unpacking your...
You're in a Johnny cab.
Yeah, let me do this for you.
Yeah.
sir. You know? And so you can say, oh, you're going to lose jobs because of that. But then at the other end of the scale, somebody's going to be helping to manufacture and maintain and everything. So who knows?
Robots will do that as well.
Eventually, but there's always going to be a human factor. I hope that's what you want.
Hopefully.
That's
That's
you
why.
want.
That's why I'm saying. As soon
And I
as the
think
human
that's-
factor's gone, that's when we're in trouble.
Well, yeah, but then it's that kind of flip side of the coin. Is it that humans are in trouble, or is it that technology has created a utopia where we can all be, like you said, the floaty people in Wall-E, but hopefully not the floaty people in Wall-E, far more fitter people that are enjoying their leisure time and
Yeah.
expanding their minds, more like Star Trek, where they're
Or are you
using their
talking? Are
minds
you talking Logan's Run, where everyone's happy and
till
by
they
the
get
way,
to 30 and then they go on the carousel. Yeah.
Spoilers.
So,
could be worse. It could be Soylent Green.
yes, when the birds and the animals stopped coming, then the people came, and then we had lots of food. So there is the positive side that it should be going towards, but then there is the darker side, and there's the darker side also contains those people that want to cause havoc for the sake of causing havoc.
Yeah. Some men just want to
So
watch the world burn.
For all those people that want,
That was Michael Caine from
for all these people
The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah. For all these people who want good out of this technology, are needing to stay on top of it to make sure it doesn't get turned
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the dark side. Meanwhile, there are always going to be people who want to cause havoc.
Yeah.
But hopefully,
Or has technology got to a point where it's so advanced that we can barely detect it from reality, and we are just
we are technology.
we are just a little microchip in the metaverse somewhere.
we've just gone straight into the Matrix now, haven't we?
Maybe that's the subject for another podcast.
I think it's time, Zach, to round this one up for the moment, because in a year's time we might be interviewing one of them.
And we are going to look to do an AI podcast again, because we think the subject is.
Oh yeah, we've got to cover artificial super intelligence.
It's a hot topic.
And the way things are moving, within a couple of months, there'll probably be a lot more updates and things.
Yeah.
I would predict, my prediction is that within the year, people won't be using the term AI, they will be using the term ASI. Because AI in it will technically be redundant, because they'll be using ASI, artificial super intelligence.
The Jude Law film. AI.
Anyway,
You have to rename
time to round this one off.
Okie dokie. So, it's everyone's favourite time. Word of the week. Not word of the
No,
week.
word of the week. No, and it's not
Quote of the week.
quote of the week.
Quote of the week.
Yeah, quote of the week.
Let's
And
get quizzical.
yeah, we're not doing quizzical, we're quote of the week. And
That's
so
your job.
I
You're
thought-
quizzical
I don't
man.
know if this is a quote exactly, but I thought that's why I said at the beginning of this about Asimov's laws of robotics. I thought I'd finish off with that. So hopefully everything will be fine, and maybe,
Please.
if it all stays.
We'll be
stays-
optimistic here.
The 3 laws of robotics, for those people who've never heard this before.
Who is
What-
Asimov? He's a psychologist.
Yeah, and he wrote a lot of science fiction
Okay, yeah.
looking into the future. And he came up with these 3 laws in order that if these laws are not broken, then robots shouldn't be able to harm humans. Okay. So, rule 1, or law 1, should I say? A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm.
Right.
Okay.
So that implies that it should rescue a human as well.
should rescue a human and do its best to rescue a human,
Yeah.
not let a human come to harm. Law 2, a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. So you
Right,
couldn't
so you
tell a
can't-
robot to go and hurt that person.
Right.
Why'd you point at me?
Well, because
It's
I'm
very
very...
gesturing.
It's a very small booth. We have to point at someone.
And then law 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
Read that one again.
Okay. So a robot must protect its own existence
Right.
as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
So you can't say go and jump off the building.
No.
Okay.
Good. But
But you can't say
could it be
go
that
into a combat zone.
robots versus robots? That would be okay.
That's a loophole.
That's a loophole right there. They could fight each other because that wouldn't conflict with the first 2 laws.
Okay.
But it has to save itself.
Well, it would try to.
As long as it doesn't conflict by injuring humans in the process.
If it's 2 robots that
What
are
about-
basically at odds with each other, they
you-
would try.
Oh.
Honestly, this could go on forever.
Can
okay?
you ask it to harm someone emotionally, like insult someone?
Well, okay, going back, I know we need to finish on this one, but going back to Ameca, which is the most advanced AI robot,
Yeah.
she does get insulted.
We did see a clip earlier in
If you see,
preparation.
somebody was saying you're smelly, and then she got really annoyed.
Yeah. Well, they
know.
said, "Do you have a boyfriend?"
Yeah.
And she said,
Robots
"Robots
don't.
are incapable of relations. Do you have a
Do
boyfriend?"
you have a boyfriend? And she said, I think you have.
It was being sassy.
It was a bit
It was.
sassy.
It did clap back.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing. But did you notice it was humans interacting with what is just a piece of
Yeah.
mechanical
Of tech.
tech,
Yeah.
but they were reacting emotionally towards it
So that robot will then, with the ASI, will pick up on the emotional response.
and be able to copy it
Yeah.
and start to understand it.
So it will take things personally.
It will understand facial expressions. It's going to be looking at you and be checking out your facial expressions.
Yeah.
You even now, just with on criminality, they do what they call it, where they're scanning people's faces using the cameras in the street. facial
recognition.
recognition,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
That's already there. It's already saying we
You'll
use.
remember your face.
So an ASI is just going to look at somebody, and they're going to be making calculations, trillionths of a second, deciding what your emotions are, your body temperature. Are you sweating? We're sweating.
body
What
language.
does
If
that
it's
mean?
A threatening
Yeah.
body
Yeah,
language.
exactly.
Honestly, stop threatening me.
You know.
You know, you naturally, when you're looking for someone's emotion, you naturally read the left side of
So,
their
for
face.
example, if you
Oh, okay.
pulled out a knife on a robot, it technically shouldn't,
It's also made of metal, so
harm
probably not the best
you.
idea.
but it's meant to protect itself from being harmed.
Yeah,
So it would probably go for
the arm break.
Well, I wouldn't say that because it would go. Let's face it, it would probably go for the knife. Because that's the other thing I noted down, especially when it comes to the military applications. Robots are super strength compared to humans.
Well, yeah.
Super speed compared to humans. Endurance.
No stamina.
So you're going to take that knife off somebody and nope, you're not having it.
The human damaged itself.
Could we see the rise of the Robocop?
That was my final question. Is Robocop an android or a robot?
He's an android. No, he's a cyborg. What are we talking about?
Well,
he's a cyborg. He's got human
tissue. They like to make him out in the movies like
he doesn't really have a human brain.
He makes him out to be a robot, but you kind of get hints that maybe there's something else going on in there.
Because he's got memories, isn't
he? He has memories, and he has
a face.
He has to eat baby food to keep his internal organs that are still there working. So
as smaller number as they are.
He is a fusion between robotics and biological human, and the only difference in that one is he's meant to have kind of the company. What was the company name?
OCP.
OCP have signed him off as he's their property because he's technically legally dead, and so but the actual product is a cyborg.
Well, in the RoboCop remake, which is questionable in quality, they have sort of RoboCop army and police and things that go out into war zones and make sure people are safe.
Because again, they wanted to introduce that human element to the robots, to the machines.
In terms of because we talk about the uncanny valley. Have you heard of the uncanny valley?
You did mention that before, but refresh the listeners.
We're supposed to be rounding this episode.
We'll do it quick.
So the uncanny valley is essentially your brain knows if a face isn't human.
Yeah.
But we can see faces in things like dolls and mannequins.
Tree bark.
Yes.
Somebody saw Bob Marley on a banana
the other day. That was Mickey Bolden.
We'll have to get him back in for another podcast.
Well, not that. That sort of, but it's more like why people are scared of dolls and mannequins and costumes and things, because your brain sees the face, but it knows it's not a human face. So your primeval instincts kick in.
It's not to trust it.
Yes, and there's a theory that we've developed that from some kind of species that impersonates us.
That's mimic.
That's mimic.
But if this robot,
the movie references keep on coming,
like we see with the what was the robot with the lady with the grey face?
Oh, Ameca.
She has a very realistic looking human face.
That's all grey.
Yeah.
But if you did put a
skin tone,
you went for a proper prosthetic face on that.
And there is one of a more
there was
detailed one, but she's got
it was more of a kind of Albert Einstein, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's got an exposed brain.
Oh, that one. The Japanese one. I think that is.
So, will it get can they get to a point where we can't distinguish a human face from a robot face? Will the prosthetics get that good?
Well, that would be your androids then.
Yeah. Or will we always
androids and
is that why
Red Dwarf.
Is that why Elon Musk is going for a black sort of screen face?
Do you know the black screen face is kind of intimidating?
Yeah.
Because there's no facial expression.
But if you're looking if it's a police bot, like a RoboCop, or
that would be perfect.
A soldier.
Ed 209.
But if there's a hostage situation with children,
10 seconds to comply.
A hostage situation with children, and it wants to be a comfort to the child, it's going to have to need some kind of emotional face
you can
or
put
something.
kind of an LED screen on it, so
that's
maybe it could have a deployable mini teddy bear that can roll out of its leg.
But that's not a real face. That's the uncanny valley. It's it's not a human face, so why should I trust it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be
that's when
interesting.
somebody hacks something to have a nice happy, hi, you can trust me.
You just referenced Pennywise there from the second It movie.
Oh dear.
Is he a robot?
Maybe.
I missed that plot point.
Well, he does the happy face thing and then...
Anyway, so robots, we are at a turning point.
Yes.
Things are going to be happening over the next 12 to 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Guys,
wow.
Fingers crossed, it's all good.
Yeah, but it's a big wow when it comes to technology. It's amazing. And we'll round it off there, I think.
Yes.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big robotic goodbye from Zach.
That's a bitty goodbye from Buzz.
That's a dead or alive, you're coming with me, goodbye from Jack.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact. We'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.